guess I've always been very career oriented. Like that's probably why I got scared with the arts because I didn't think I was going to be able to be successful. So that made me nervous. So then when aesthetics came along, and it's still a thriving industry, right? I was like, okay, I could see this for the foreseeable future. And so there was opportunities, and I liked that. And so that was easy transition.
Welcome to the Arts to Hearts podcast, a show where we take a peek into the hearts and lives of our favorite artists. From running a creative business and practice to mindset, we talk about everything that goes behind into making a life and a career that you adore as an artist. Think of this as your happy hour with your favorite artist in your studio. Hear them share the messy and the wonderful side of creating and living a creative, heartfelt life within and outside our studios. As you tune in, be ready to be inspired and encouraged. I'm your host, Charka Arora, an artist, designer, entrepreneur, and founder of Arts to Hearts project. Thank you so much for being here. Let's jump right in. Before we dig into this episode, I quickly want to remind you about our last international open call of 2021 for women artists. The theme for this open call is home. We are so excited to be hosting this open call in collaboration with our friends at Visionary Art Collective. And this online exhibit will be curated by none other than Victoria J. Fry, who's the founder of Visionary Art Collective. Victoria is a beautiful, beautiful artist, person, and oh my god, the work that she's been doing with Visionary is so amazing. If you still don't know, you really need to check it out. Again, the theme for this open call is home, and the deadline to submit is 13th of December, 12 midnight EST. Selected participants will be a part of an online exhibition hosted on www.arts2heartsproject.com. A few artists will be a part of a special video featuring the theme home. A few artists will be selected to be interviewed on Visionary Art Collective's website by Victoria J. Fry. Selected artists will also be featured on Arts to Hearts and Visionary Art Collective's Instagram account. To submit, you can go either on www.arts2heartsproject.com/submit, or you can also click on the link below and you can find all the, wherever you need to be. So yes, I can't wait to start another year with you all and end this year with this beautiful opportunity. It's such an exciting collaboration. Believe me, this is such a good opportunity. We've worked really hard and we can't wait to see your work. Again, the deadline to submit is 13th of December, 12 midnight EST. We see you soon. Hey, you guys, welcome back to the Arts to Hearts podcast. This is your host, Charka. And I have a very, very talented, super entertaining, 100% honest, and an amazing, amazing person, Celine, with me today. If you're on the internet and in the creative field, you must know, and of course, a part of our community, you must know who Celine is by now. She's been on fire for the past few months, and there is so much that she's done just recently that we all have been blown away. I've been following Celine for a while, and we had we tried to do this interview a couple of times. Fortunately, I was able to grab her here today, and I have her on the hot seat. Welcome to the podcast, Celine.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Thank you for coming. How does it feel to be on the other end also? Like, I know you also host a podcast. So
Yeah,
how is that feeling?
it's always I like talking. So I like talking to people. I like talking to interesting people like yourself. So no, it's a lot of fun. And usually my podcast, we don't do a lot of interviews. Mostly it's just the co-host chatting and I. So it's, talking to somebody new is fun.
Amazing. I just got to know. We were just recording this, and it's like I can't, like, I'm also still visualizing how would you record your podcast now, because I had this feeling every time I would listen to podcast, especially because I am a podcaster myself, so I have this like image of, like, how you would record like a podcast, because that's how I do. And now
Yeah.
I'm thinking how fun you are, and you're having those conversations on your phone and recording that.
Yeah, I know. It's super casual. Like, I should level up and get some better recording equipment, but I honestly, like, I put my phone on my little tripod so my microphone is close and we just talk.
You are
So,
inspiring me. But because that's a fact. Sometimes, so I have this problem, honestly. I actually, this is such a big part of why I have you here, because you have to share a lot of things about this. I really love your approach towards saying, which is very, you know, very focused with getting things done. Maybe that's the mom in you. Of course, I know a lot of things about you by now, because I remember. So we did the art queen session, and believe me, you gave one of the best advice I've heard so far.
oh,
I
thank
was
you.
like, this is my golden, like, this is, it resonated so much with me, which was that, like, how you did not buy another expensive, beautiful journal, notebook, because you would try to save it. Instead, you got that ugly $1 one and then scribbled your way out of it. And I was like, when I heard that, I was like, what the hell am I doing? Why did I not think of this? And believe me, I have it here with me. So just after we finished that um, event, I opened my drawer, and I wasn't looking for the prettiest. I was like, what is the ugliest thing I own? The ugliest thing I own. And there was this one little diary my dad gave me. I don't know, from some office, or I don't know. And I was like, this is it. This is it. And I now, believe me, and I'm actually now looking for the one that you actually showed us, because by the time I heard your first advice, you gave this advice actually twice. The first, when you gave it on your own podcast, the second, you gave it on the Art Queens. Yes, this. I'm looking for this now. I
My
am.
my disaster scribbler. Yeah. Well, you know
Oh
what?
my goodness.
It's just also like the microphone thing for the podcast. Like when I was younger, I struggle with perfectionism for sure. But you
You
probably,
do?
oh, big time. But you wouldn't notice it because it held me back for so long because I would think, "Oh, I wanna do this, but I can't do it until it's perfect." So, I wanna start a podcast, but I have to have the right microphone. I have to have the right that like, even right now today, I'm in my office/storage room. It's not yours looks so pretty. I'm like, hanging out in the back room, and I'm like, "Oh, I should get one of those, like, pop-up backgrounds or something." And then I'm like, "You know what? Maybe I will." I'm not saying I never will, but
Yeah.
if it's gonna stop me from starting, then I just
Yes.
say, "Screw it. I'm just gonna start anyway, and
Yes.
it's not gonna be perfect, but
Yes.
done is better than perfect." So, those
Yes.
planners, when I would obsessively just want them to look pretty, I don't know for what, they wouldn't get used, and the point of it is to use it, right? So I had to
Yes.
strip away the need for making it perfect and just get it done, and that's been really helpful.
This has been such an I really, really, this has been such an incredible advice from you, because I was like, sometimes, like, things are very obvious, but you don't, like, they're laid in front of you, but you still can't. For me, when I started podcasting, and I have big time, like, perfectionism thing. Even
Yes.
when I even it feels very hard for me to, like, um I know that it becomes like a hurdle in my progress at times.
Yep.
So I try to keep it away, but it still comes. Like, I still wouldn't have um like, I felt like when you said that you could just do, like, you could buy all those journals, but to really make this work, just expend that $1 and get this one. And I was like, that's true, because that resonates with my brain, because I'm not going to be afraid of scribbling that. I'm not going to be afraid of writing it. I'm not going to be distracted by beautiful pictures, this, that. And I was like, why did I not think of this? Why? Why? So
I don't know.
good.
It's one of those things, right? Sometimes you just have a moment and something clicks and it works and you're off.
Amazing. Okay, and there's so much regarding all of this that we need to talk. But let's first, would you want to introduce yourself? or
Oh,
should we just, because
I'm
I'm
sorry.
sure a lot of would already know who you are now by now. How
Oh my
many
god.
interviews have you done recently? You've
So
become this, like,
it's
it's
been
hard.
good.
I was like,
So I've done well, obviously today I did the Jealous Curator a couple weeks ago, and then before
yes,
that I was on the Artist Business Plan. Do you ever listen to that?
yes, yes,
Yeah, I like
yes,
that one too.
super fine.
Yeah, super fine, right. Yeah, so
Yes.
that's it, just a few, but
You
oh,
were
and
on
then
the Art
oh, and
Queens.
then I talked to the Art Queens too, yeah. But that's
Yes.
not
See,
a
a
podcast,
busy
that's not
woman.
a membership
Oh,
thing, but still,
that's, yeah, yeah. It's all same.
yeah.
You're always sharing your golden thoughts.
Thank you. I try. So yeah, a little bit more about me. So I'm Celine Gabrielle. Um, I'm an artist. Right now I'm painting mostly with oils, and I do like large scale, really bold, bright paintings of the figure, so people, but with a really strong focus on fashion. And I'm very interested in like the stories behind the clothes and how clothes connect to identity and how we see ourselves or maybe how we want to present ourselves in the world. I also see fashion as like fantasy. I love like haute couture, but I'm always like, well, who's wearing that and where are they wearing it? Like it's cool, but it's sometimes so ridiculous, but I love that. And so yeah, it's a really strong draw for me right now. But I'm also like dabbling with still with the theme of identity, but I have this idea for like an installation project. Do you love
Yes.
installation art? How do you feel about
I love
installation?
installation. I love
Me
it.
too. It's so like
But I've never
immersive.
done it.
No, me either. Me either. But you get like you can get in it. Well, sometimes depending on what it is, but it's just
Yeah.
more, there's and dynamic like so I want to there's some visual elements, but I'm also looking at like some audio elements to include and maybe some lighting and different things like
Oh,
that. So
wow.
I will need like a space to put this together. So right now I'm just playing around in my studio with it, but that's hopefully
Wow.
something to work towards in the future.
Amazing.
Yeah.
And will this also be in context to fashion?
No, it'll be more related to like so fashion. I'm also interested in like pop culture.
Yeah.
So it's more of a connection between like the culture and the world we're living in and our identity. So still with that
Oh,
identity theme,
wow.
but it's not really going to have anything to do with fashion.
Oh my goodness. I am really
Yeah.
interested, like
And
excited to
it's going to be
see.
and sculptural. So not painting anymore. It's going to be like a
Are you
physical.
working on sculptures as well right now?
Yeah. So that's what I'm trying to
Oh,
put
wow.
together all this stuff.
We haven't seen any on social media
No,
yet.
it's like very hush hush. See, you wanted some like
Oh,
tidbits I haven't really talked about, so there you go. So
yeah.
I'm
Oh
like
my God.
in my studio, like my secret lab, working away.
This makes me oh my God. You know what started happening now? Every time I have these conversations and you guys say something, I start having these, like, I'm a very visual thought person. So I
Yeah,
start imagining. So now when you're saying, I am imagining you like the Dexter's lab,
yeah.
how how he goes how he goes in the secret lab, uh and then would hide away so that nobody finds out. Is that what you're doing?
A little
Hiding
bit,
away from your children?
a little bit. Yeah, I my studio's in my house, but it's completely separate. Like you have to go out the front door, around the corner, and then back in. And so I'm like completely separate, and I'm just working away, experimenting, and having a lot of fun. So we'll see.
The
We'll see
secret
what
lab.
happens. Yeah,
The secret lab of Celine.
exactly.
Oh my God. Okay, let's talk more about your work. First thing, I am really pressed to ask this question that I haven't been able to ask you,
Yeah.
which is how on earth do you paint so freaking good with oils?
Do you use oils?
So this is why I feel this way. I am not trained in the arts. I was trained in design. Then
Okay.
I started my journey with gouache and watercolors. I still love them,
Yeah.
everything. And then I felt like, oh, I sometimes, honestly, I'll be 100% honest. Sometimes, back of the mind, I feel like my attempt to always get into oil painting is because, you know how it's always kept on the pedestal, like,
Yes.
like this hierarchical.
Yeah.
So I'm still working with oils. I'm not great at it, but I just feel like I'm still not there. I don't have it, like, this kind relationship that you start building with the medium that you use. I
Yes.
feel like I have the friction still with me. And
Okay.
I see your work and I'm like, how? With everything I know about you, I'm like, how did you get so good at this?
I see. That's
How?
funny because so when I was growing up making art, I was never allowed to use oils at school, at home because of the whole toxicity. Everybody was like
Yes.
scared of the oils. So I was only allowed to use watercolor and mostly watercolor, tempera, and acrylic, right? And I like to blend. And so to get those transitions from one color to the next with those mediums, they would, I actually
Yes.
still love watercolor because it has a bit of that ability.
Yes. I love
But
watercolors.
yeah, but acrylic in particular, I would fight with it because it would, some
Yeah.
people love
Dry
it and
up.
they work magic with it. But for me, I would just fight it. And so it wasn't until I started creating again and experimenting, and I went to do a night class and learned how to paint with oils. And honestly, I don't know. It's just like magic. As soon as I understood how you mix a little bit of the paint with a little bit of medium and you get that buttery, creamy consistency, I was good. I was like, all right, that's all I needed to know. I'm going. And so that being said, the very first painting I did was still a bit of a mess because you have to let the layer, like, you either do an alla prima technique, right? So wet on wet, or you do what I do. So I paint in layers. Um, and so therefore you need to let the first layers dry before you go again, which takes a while. And then our preamble chat that we had, it gets really humid here in summer too. So I was trying this in summer. And so then when it's humid, they really don't dry. And so, there were a few early efforts that were kind of a mess. But once I understood how I like to work in layers. And so then I started working on a few paintings at a time because if I can paint on one, do a layer, let it dry, and then work on a few more, by the time I get back to that in a couple of days, it's ready for me again, right? So, yeah, I think it's a lot of trial and error, but the actual medium itself, that creamy butteriness was just like my heart was sinking right from the first attempt. Yeah, for sure.
When did you learn oil painting?
2019.
I still can't believe that. Are you really, really? Is there like this secret thing that's like, you're not telling us,
No,
and
but
like,
I
there's
think, I
something?
mean, I was
How?
making art for a long time. So you have the ideas and the concepts are there. It's just like you were saying
No, but
earlier,
you are
how do you
so
find
good
that
with this.
perfect medium match?
Yeah. And
It
the
just
oil has
works.
been that for you.
Absolutely, 100%. Yeah.
And what were you using before oil painting?
So before it was mostly just acrylics and watercolor, but I didn't paint anything between graduating high school and then about 2018, I started dabbling again.
My
Life just
goodness.
took me on, I had another career, I had a
You,
family, and
I know.
so I just picked it up again, and that's when it really all came together. But I
You
had
did
been
not
thinking
really
about
pick, you haven't really picked it up again. You've killed it. You're killing it. You're acing
it.
it.
Thank you. But I had all that time to think about it. And I would think about it. I would go to museums, I would look at other people's artwork. Like it was always I was building in my mind, but just not letting it out. So I think once I was ready and able to, it just all started to come out.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay. Uh, let's talk a little bit about, for anyone who's not heard a little of your backstory with your previous profession, and then I'll ask my next question. Do you want to explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so I went to an arts high school, wanted to be an artist, but then got terrified the whole starving artist, right? Like I don't know. I think it's very common, at least in North America. Did you hear that a lot for your?
Every.
Yeah,
I never knew an artist all my life.
no, exactly, right?
Never.
So
Never
you
seen,
went
never
through
heard,
that.
never believed.
Yeah. So that's what even though I was in an arts high school, people were still saying, "Oh, it's so hard, it's so hard." And then I would look up like what artists were making, and it wasn't very much. Anyway, I terrified myself out of like I talked myself out of it, out of pursuing it. And so anyway, like like you mentioned, this is out there, so I'll keep it short. But basically, I decided to become an esthetician instead,
Yes.
and I found work right away, and I actually really enjoyed that work. So, just in case, esthetician, day spa, manicures, pedicures, body treatments. I mean, you smell everything smells good. You get good skincare products. It was not.
Yeah.
I liked it. I
Yeah.
really did. And so I started a small business for myself, a little day spa, and but it was in a small town, and so it was very hard to staff. And so I wound up doing a lot of hands-on work myself. Long story short, did that for like 20 years total that in that
Mm,
industry. And
just
then
20 years.
yeah, but then it started, so I was born with a wrist condition actually, and that profession aggravated the condition. And so it started getting progressively worse and worse and worse and worse the longer I did it. And then at one point it just was excruciatingly painful, and I just couldn't physically provide services anymore, and I was having trouble finding staff, and the surgeons and specialists were like, "You need a different career." And so I just closed the business and
Oh my God.
had to figure out what was next. So from there, I didn't know what I was doing. But at that time in my life, I was very into like fitness and working out and stuff. And
Yeah, I
so I
heard that.
decided, okay, I'll do that. And so I dove into that, and I was teaching group fitness classes, and I was doing personal training, and I did nutrition training and all this stuff. And I was trying to make that my life. But at my core, I'm like an artsy kid who wants to sit and draw and eat snacks, right? Like I was working out very regularly, and I was really fit. Like that was probably the fittest part of my life. But it at my core, that's not. It's just not me, right? So anyway, like midlife crisis, I guess. And my husband was chatting with him, and he's like, "Why don't you just start making art again?" So that was that. In 2018, finally, I decided, okay, now's the time to see if I even can still do this and then what will come of it. And so I spent 2018 experimenting.
Okay.
2019 was when I started working with oils. And then, yeah, so then it just snowballed from there. How was that? Was that a nice
Goodness.
kind of summary?
Absolutely. You covered everything. Perfect.
Okay, good.
Now comes my question. I
Yes.
had this in my mind.
Okay.
And I asked this especially because I feel like I also had, like, I've had several careers. I have
Yeah.
alternate careers, like as a podcaster or like, branding, marketing, and all of that. But so, like, my question is, but I'm going to just give you an example before that. Like, I had a business before, not for 20 years. I just had it for 2 years. It was something that I always thought. I was trained in fashion, and that
Okay.
was something that I always thought that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And I did. I worked for a while, and then I thought I will start my own business, start a small business. And the the difference is my reason for closing down was very different as per you. I figured that I was always this creative person, and how, or maybe I wasn't really ready, and I did not know what went into a business, and I wasn't ready for it, and I went into this rabbit hole, and I went into a very dark phase, and I was like, this is not me, this is not me. I need to find myself.
Mhm.
Long story short, I shut down. That was one of the hardest phases of my life, honestly, because I feel like, at least I can speak for myself, where we grew up. Now it's not the same because you have examples in front of me. I set an example for others that you don't, like, one career will not define you. Like in India, the pattern is like, you be a doctor, you be a doctor for your life. You be this man, then you be this for your life. You be that. There's never been a conversation about having multiple revenue streams.
Right.
You can have more than one career, or like, things like that. So I had a major shock because I thought all my life I thought that I wanted to be this. I really fought hard to. to go study for this and then work and then, start this business. I put all my savings, every little thing I had into it. And I'm like, I can't do this. It's not that it's not working. It's that I don't want to do this. So
Right.
it was a very dark period. I had so many things. Like I felt like one day I knew everything and the other day I don't know who I am anymore.
Mhm.
My question is, you did your esthetician profession for 20 years. You
Mhm.
loved it, you were
Mhm.
very good at it, and you were very successful at it. One day a doctor tells you to shut your business down. Apparently, eventually you had to. I know you haven't really spoken a lot about this period between closing that down till finding yourself back again till today. How has that been for you?
Yeah, I'm glad you bring that up actually because so I guess I've always been very career oriented. Like that's probably why I got scared with the arts because I didn't think I was going to be able to be successful. So that made me nervous. So then when aesthetics came along, and it's still a thriving industry, right? I was like, okay, I can see this for the foreseeable future. And so there was opportunities, and I like that. And so that was easy transition. The It's really funny that you talk about that because so what happened was you're right, I had to shut the business. Um, but like I say, I was already like as a hobby really into this like fitness world at the time. And so I just thought easy. I'll just do that instead, right? Like it felt like, oh, okay, no problem. And that I guess because of my experience with the other business, I was able to grow that business, and so I was still making an income and getting people to come to class and sign up for personal training. So I was going along, but like you just mentioned, deep on the inside, I knew in my heart it really wasn't me, and I couldn't see like doing that forever, but I didn't know what was next. And so anyway, that was still though another probably I can't even remember like 5 years that I worked towards that. But what happened was finally I just became so unhappy. I just knew that it wasn't for me. It was not filling my cup, right? Like how you want something that feels
Yeah, I
authentic,
get that feeling.
right? And so
Yeah.
that's where I came to that crossroads really in like 2018 when I was just talking to my husband about how unhappy I really was. Even though it was going okay and I was having some success, I just, it just wasn't the person I wanted to be. It wasn't how I wanted to spend my time. So I I stopped doing all of that. That's when he's like, "Well, just stop. You have my support. We have established some stability through life. And so just stop doing all that since you really have been talking for 20 whatever years about art. Just try that. Like just believe in yourself and give it a try." And so that period, almost 5 years after I closed the spa and had still been doing
Yeah.
fitness, that was actually the hardest period because I finally like had to mourn that stage of my life, which sounds kind of silly, but it was so important to me and it gave me so much, but I never allowed myself the time to feel sad that I had to move on until finally. So yeah, I was sort of similar like you were saying you went through a dark. I did. I felt really low and a bit
Yeah.
hopeless and
And
just confused.
I think the hardest part, at least what I can recall, honestly, if you ask me, a lot of things I don't recall anymore because it was
Yeah.
like it was so hard.
Mhm.
But more than anything, I think the first thing that I still remember, and that's something, especially from people who's like I either are multi passionate or like have had experiences like ours who keep moving, you know,
Yes.
like professions, or maybe when one is just not enough. I
Right.
remember not trusting myself enough. I'll tell you why. I had this feeling because, when you do something, at least for me, I can say that because, when you've been doing, you think that you want to do something all your life, you trust yourself with it, and then you go with it. And then you end up learning that this is not something that you want to do. You, like, I felt like, what if I start another thing? What if it's not that? What if this is not that? Yeah. So I think the biggest thing was the next, like, even I still remember the first time I said out loud that I wanted to be an artist.
Yeah.
And I was like, in 100% honest, I felt like, the self talk that we do to ourselves, I was like, this will be another thing that will be like a few. I still, like, for so many months and years, I felt like I'll wake up one day and I'll be like, oh my God, this is not going to work and I'll have to do something else.
Mhm.
Honestly, deep down, maybe I still have that fear. Did you feel any way like that?
Absolutely. I still have fears like, or thoughts like that, I would say, it's just human nature. We doubt, we doubt ourselves, and I think we've been taught to doubt ourselves. Culture and our environment, it's like some people will have extreme success and a lot of people will not, right? So
Yeah.
I don't know. The only thing that I can say is that I think at the end of the day, what was so different or so good about this time is that I, from the very beginning, decided I was only going to make art that I wanted to make. I wasn't going to make something that I thought would sell or that somebody else would like, or I wasn't going to offer to paint family portraits or what, like, I was only going to do what I wanted to do. And initially that was hard. Like, I did have people reach out to me and be like, "Hey, can you paint my son?" And I was like, "Nope, I'm not doing that." Because it just, I knew it wouldn't fill. Yeah, you can do something, but if it doesn't fill you up and make you excited to create it, then what's the point, right? And the truth of the matter is too, in terms of like multi-passionate, and I know I've talked about this many times, but one of my favorite creative inspirational books is Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert.
Yeah. Love, love.
So good. And she has no shame talking in the book about, I mean, she had
Yeah.
already had two novels out, Eat, Pray, Love had come out, and she was still working like a day job
Yes.
to make
Yes.
sure that she had that stability before putting all of that on her art. And I'm just like, there's absolutely no shame in that. And sometimes we put too much pressure on our creativity. Well, since that's like what we're
Yeah.
specifically talking about, right? If we think,
Yeah.
oh, we have to sell all of our work to pay the bills and or else we're a complete failure. No, it's not true. Like, sometimes it's about exposure, sometimes it's about what's in on trend. Like, even recently, I'll give you a perfect example. So the art fair that
Yeah.
I went to in
Yeah.
New
Yeah.
York, right? There was
Yes.
art
You
around.
did super fine.
Yeah, super fine. So there was art around me that I personally wouldn't pay $5 for, and it was flying off. People loved it. And so, it's very interesting that, and she was doing exactly what she wanted to be doing. And so I feel like you just honestly have to be true to yourself. If you can pay all your bills strictly from your creativity, great. If you need a little bit of if you need some extra support from other, there's absolutely no shame in that, but keep creating, like, because you just don't know, like, one little thing, one little catalyst can create so much change, right? Like, that's really this year for me. I had one small opportunity that has like snowballed into many more. So and it just happened, actually, speaking about being low, it happened when I was rejected from something else I really wanted, and I
Good.
was feeling, like, bummed and like, "Oh,
And
well."
God was like, you wanted this, let me give you more.
Yeah, I was like, "Oh, I suck, this isn't gonna happen," and then you sit down and you're in a slump on your couch with your cup of tea,
Yes.
and then something on your inbox just changes everything, right? So, I don't know, I
Yes.
think what I wrote to myself on, like, my idea bulletin board very, very early on was just keep showing up. And I still look at that piece of paper because I think that was my personal challenge with a lot of things. And I think probably it's quite relatable is that we do something for a little while. And if we don't get the
Yes.
expected outcome immediately, we stop.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
we didn't fail, we just stopped. But had we kept going, you
Yeah.
never know what could have happened. So,
Right. That's true.
right? That was my
I
big
can
thing.
I
Just
I
keep
agree
going.
to this because a lot of times I would, you always reflect back and then you think in retrospect that what if, things like that.
Right.
And I honestly a lot of times I would think that what if I did not shut that business and I had the courage to pivot? As much something that I take as an experience of failure, I would have just taken the same experience as an experience of improvisation.
Mhm.
But again, that is what a lot of what society and where you are, your peer pressure and all of those things
Yes.
play um, in role. Where people tell you, I was with this perception that once you pick one thing up and that's what you do all your life. There's like you think of one. I was young, maybe I was naive, and maybe I was too influenced, and I wasn't maybe daring enough to think that I still think that what if I had the courage to not stop but to pause.
Hmm.
Because this external pressure that's always on upon a lot of us, that you need to be performing good all the time, like you
Hmm.
have to be good all the
Hmm.
time, that you've been. And I felt like I was under that pressure at that point so much that I felt like, oh my god, I felt like starting a business means, oh, I'm going to always be doing good. But that's not true. That's not how that's absolutely not how a business works.
No.
And you know, okay, let me ask you another question, which is
Well, wait, before you
we've come to the
here,
point.
I just want to say one more thing.
Yes.
It's funny though, because as much as I say, that I had to tell myself to keep going, I think also you and I both know, like with me with the fitness and with you with your business, there
Yes.
also came a time when I tried and it just never felt right. And so it was
Right.
okay to
Yes.
quit, right? Like
Yes.
we have to,
Yes.
I think, really tune into our gut and our heart and understand that yes, sometimes even if you're not feeling it, the success, but you're enjoying the process and you get great pleasure
Yes.
from it, that's when you keep going. But if there's something
Yes.
that never quite feels right, that it's also okay to let things go. You know?
Absolutely. Yeah. And there's not, it's so subjective, honestly. Like sometimes I need to check in. And honestly, I do that check in even today.
Yes.
I would, because I still have this fear, because I like when you start, like when you try your hands at multiple things and figure like, oh, this is what I don't want. This is because I did that. I did that for in the last 10 years. I've tried so many things and I'm like, this is the pool that I like. This is the pool I don't like. So I'm like, oh, I like this here. Don't like this here. Like this here. Don't like this here. But then deep down, I have this fear. What if one day I wake up and I don't I don't enjoy what I'm doing right now?
Yeah.
What would I do? And I keep thinking of that idea. In fact, that's something that happened to me recently. I started as I started with painting. I fell in love with painting in the beginning. That was how I actually started. In the midway, for some reason, I lost myself. Like
Hmm.
I went into collage. I love collaging also, but you know, it was this. I had this idea. I could do either this or I could do either that. Like again, preconceived notions that we pick up and then we become too hard on ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Only recently, I think just last week, I felt like I had that groove back. I went into a state where I realized why I fell in love with painting.
Yeah.
And I was all this while I thought like maybe I thought I wanted that, maybe I did not want that. Like this self-doubt is like a continuous loop that you're that you just need to keep. And I have no answer. Like there's no inner voice telling me no, this is not something that you have to figure it out. You'll have to keep pushing and then you'll know this is making me or breaking me. Because in my experience, when I push too far, when it's not needed, I
Hmm.
have done more harm than good.
Right.
What do you say?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that inner self talk is so, so, so powerful, positive or negative, right? So, yeah, it's just, learning about yourself. And I like what you said earlier too, when you were like trying things, and I'll put this in this pile as a not for me, and this pile is something I love. And even something you love, like painting, your love for it can fluctuate. Like, things come and go. I've been with my husband for 22 years. I met him when I was 19. And I listened to like 1,000 podcasts. So one I was listening to was about relationships. And something that this couple who had been together 50 years said really stuck out in my mind. And I think it's not just relationships. It's I think you can attach it to anything that you love, but what what she said was is they said, "What was your secret to such a long relationship?" And she said, "We never fell out of love at the same time." So I put that to me, like, with my husband, like, some days I'm like, "Oh my god, you're the most annoying man," and he's, like, loving on me, and then other days, he it flip-flops, like, I love him so, so much, and he's like, and it's the same, I think, with creativity, like, some days you love it, and it loves you back, like, it cooperates, and then other days you go to paint and it fights you, so you just set it aside, but you didn't stop loving it. You just have to like come back to it, right? And give it another try. So I think with all of our interests, they're going to come and go. And if you follow your curiosities, you'll continue. Like you said, you worry if you wake up and you're like, oh, I don't like what I'm doing anymore. You're the type of person I can tell for sure. Like you have so much curiosity. You wait 5 minutes, you feel a little bit down, and then something will spark your eye or your imagination and you'll be off on a new adventure, right? Like it's never too late. Something is always around
Yeah.
the corner.
I think it is again comes back to the mindset that, and again, I think life teaches you, experience and years teach a lot of you. And like in my 10 years working, I've realized like I have patterns, like we all have patterns. Like you understand how you work, what works for you, what you like I am someone, like especially when it comes to, like, let's say running arts to hearts or anything like that, I'm very organized. I love having structures, but I'm also a person who hates structures. I
Yeah,
absolutely hate structures. If someone tells me how to do what to do, I wouldn't do it. Believe me. I would,
I love
like, my brain would force me not to do, even if I have to do what they are saying. I wouldn't do it
but don't you
because I
know
hate structures.
we're like walking contradictions because I'm the same. I'm like, oh my
Absolutely.
God, I hate routine. And then it's like summer,
Yes.
the kids are home, there's no routine. It's like a free for all. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait until fall and
Yes.
back to school routines. Do you know
Yes.
what I mean? Like
Yes.
we're just, it's human
Absolutely.
nature.
And you
Right?
know what? I found an answer to this for myself, at least for now. I
Yeah.
hate routine.
Yeah.
I hate routines, but I want structure, because
Yeah.
if I'm all over the place, I will not get anything done. I know that. I need to make sure, like, I need to know that this is coming up and I need to be prepared for it. So what my answer to this is, I have figured that this is a pattern for me. So like if I, let's say, I wake up, my routine for now is like I would wake up 5 in the morning and then I do my workout and all of that, and then I head to, some days I would head to studio like 10 in the morning. So last 4 months this was my routine. I would wake up in the morning, I would work out, then I actually pushed myself into work because I wanted to escape from other things. So I sat on my desk here at my home at 8 in the morning. I would get my calls done in the morning, which was for arts to hearts. And by 10, I would wind up. I would do all my calls in the morning and I would wind up. And then I would go to the studio. Even if I wouldn't do anything in the studio, I would just, maybe like, because I was having a creative block and all of that. But that time I dedicated to, like, doing things. Like, I think 2 months, 3 months into it, and I was like, what the hell am I doing? And I was like, this, why is this so, why am I having this every day? And I was like, I can't do this, I can't do this anymore. So I flipped everything around and I was like, I'll wake up, I will not do calls the first thing in the morning. Then I started painting in the morning. So I figured that I am someone who cannot follow something for too long.
Mm,
I like to have structure, but and then
right.
keep evolving that structure in regular intervals, and it keeps that brain of mine engaged and like
Yeah.
that curious. Like, it once it sets to a pattern, it starts hating it.
Yeah.
So, but it needs structure to work on it. So I
But
give it
that
structure, shake that structure.
and that's what you figured out, right? Like your routine
Yeah,
is like a non-routine, but that's your routine kind of thing, right? Like
yeah,
we just figure out what works best,
yes,
right? And so that's
yes,
amazing that
that's true.
you've done that. Yeah.
Okay, my next question, which is again something I'm very interested in. I'm interested in everything, honestly. But this one. Um, you also mentioned that you also grew up not having a lot of like art, let's say, examples around you, or feeling like, you know, you came from a very stable background, which was like you worked in like as an aesthetician for 20 years. You made good money for yourself, you were stable, and all of that. We know being an artist does not come with all of that. And you started at 40, being an art, like your art practice. How was that? I remember when I said this out loud that I wanted to be an artist. Subconsciously, I mean, even today, we all know it's not like a bed of roses. It's not the most stable profession. How hard was it for you coming from such a stable, successful profession and then moving into this completely opposite end of pole at 40? Something you've been doing for 20 years and then coming
Yeah.
just opposite world.
Yeah, well, okay, so I really believe in trying to be as transparent as I can, especially when it comes to talking about money, because that's something that is always, especially like you can go Google salaries for a lot of things, but people build their art practice from a number of different ways, and how they make money is so varied. So, um, in terms of stability, I think I was actually a little bit back to what I said about just doing whatever I wanted. Well, I had worked, and um, financial literacy has been something that's been important to me. So my husband and I have really made an effort to, like put money on our mortgages and get that financial stability. So, yes, my original career afforded me like a home and a home studio and some stability there. We also were lucky enough to have some opportunities to get a couple of investment properties. So that's another stability. And my husband is employed, right? And so I have so again, I put that out there because I don't want anybody to compare and think, oh, well, she can do it all on her. I'm not doing it on my own. I have a lot of support, and I have 20 years of, established foundation. So that's worth mentioning. The other thing in terms of income that actually I haven't talked a lot about, but so this year, okay, so the Canadian census for this like time frame right now, I just looked it up the other day because I was really curious. The average fine artist in Canada makes like 20,000 Canadian dollars. So I didn't actually
Okay.
know that in 2021.
Okay.
I should have maybe looked that up, or maybe I would have set my goal lower. But anyway, in 2021,
Yeah.
I set a goal that I wanted to earn $30,000 from my artwork. Now, that to some people sounds like peanuts, that to other people sounds like a lot, just
Amazing.
depending on,
Yeah.
where you're at.
There we are.
The truth of the matter is that wouldn't be enough to sustain
Yeah.
my lifestyle and my family. So that's why I bring
Yeah.
up that I have this other stability, right? Because
Yeah.
yeah, I'm doing well and I am reaching certain goals, and that's one of them. But it wouldn't be enough if that was all, right? So that's
Yeah, absolutely.
the other thing to talk about too is how I've been able to reach to pass that goal is not simply with painting oil paintings. So here's a
Yeah.
of the things I've done this year that have contributed financially. I sold paintings. I sold fine art
Yes.
prints. That's something that
Oh,
I got
wow.
into. Um, I took on opportunities in my local schools. Like there were opportunities, and I can't speak for wherever everybody else lives, but there were some opportunities that school had money for funding for the arts. And so I got work doing some workshops and teaching in schools. I painted a mural, and I made some
Yes.
money from that. I have gotten paid for doing some speaking.
Yes.
So I've just lumped it all together to reach
Yeah.
that goal, but it wasn't specifically just
Specifically.
paintings, right? And so I
Yeah.
think maybe we have to look at, and maybe you don't want to do any of that other stuff. Maybe you only want to
Yeah.
make work from paintings or whatever your medium is, which is totally fine too. But you have to figure out that puzzle and put it together to work to reach your goals. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. I so agree to that
Yeah.
because I think a lot of times people don't tell you this because nobody knows why. But I think relying on one as a creative professional, especially, I wouldn't comment it for other professions because I've realized this, like, it does not work everywhere, but especially for creative people who are independent, are working independently, not relying on a single source of income is not only safe for them financially, but I feel personally it's such a big safety shell for our own creativity also. Because I feel like, let's say, in the past one, and I've been very vocal about this, and I'll say this here on the podcast also. In the past 1 year, my life went down the drain. Everything that happened, passing of my mom, everything. I haven't really made work since January. I have tried, and it's not that I haven't tried. I have tried really hard, but nothing, because if I'm not in my mind and soul, I really can't make anything because I was not there. I wasn't ready, and I wasn't pushing myself too hard because I wanted to make money. I had that safety shell
Mhm.
because I am not reliant on only one source of income.
Right.
But subconsciously, my self-worth was still attached to it. I'll be honest about that. I did
Right.
not make work, I did not sell work. Let's say October here, I think I've started now. I have finally, this month I moved into another studio, and I feel like I'm starting to put myself, like, my life a little bit back together. Because on the internet everyone thinks everything is like come, like, because
Yes.
that's what it shows, but it's not. That's not the truth. It's not that I always try to put the real side always forward, but you can't always send sadness or pain or like struggles. You also want to send out, like, for your own sanity. I don't want to keep talking about how hard things are. I would want to talk about how I can do better, because that's also going to take me forward.
Yeah.
And somewhere this self worth was something that has been something that I've been like, you know fighting with so much, because it wasn't the money that was stressing me. It was the fact that I haven't been able to make work and sell work for almost this year. If we're sitting in October, and I have just started making more work, and it was this self-worth that was so invested and attached to this process, and it made me feel like, oh, what if I'm not an artist enough, not this enough and that enough. And I feel like people don't talk about it. People don't tell you that when people, like, when artists are making one entire series, a lot of time they are not selling anything
Hmm.
because they're working on their next body of work. When they're actually make selling the next body of work, they're actually not making a lot of work. And on the internet or on the outskirt, anywhere, physically, virtually, things are looking differently, but they're working differently.
Hmm.
What do you think?
Well, first of all, I'm so sorry for you having to deal with the loss of your mom. Like that's just heartbreaking. And to give yourself a hug, like don't I don't honestly know the grief of loss of something like that. I can totally understand why there's no spark. You know what I mean? Like that is just, and people are dealing with all types of grief all the time, right? That we are not aware of. And so that's again why I'm always like, you cannot compare yourself to anybody because you don't know what they're dealing with. And so give yourself grace, like you're still showing up in so many ways. You're such a beautiful spirit who gives so much. And so the fact that you would feel like, oh, I'm not living up to my potential or whatever, it just happened. Like that is very new. So I just want to send you some love and tell you, it'll be okay. Um, and then dealing with stuff like that, like, yeah, it definitely, I mean, I think the reason I didn't pursue art in the first place was because of the whole self-worth, like that I would never be good enough,
Yeah,
that I would never measure up, right?
yeah,
It took me not just 20 years of life experience, but I think age, wisdom,
yeah,
you know, it
yeah,
all just it just helps
absolutely.
move forward. And I think when you have to go through hard things like yourself with dealing with
Yes.
what's happening, in your life, it ultimately will probably give you strength in the future. It's just in the
Yeah.
moment, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, just being kind and having self-love and understanding that things will get better and you can't equate bad things in life with
Yeah.
your skill and
Nothing
talent
stays
and ability,
forever.
right? Yeah.
Yeah. And you know why I said I missed the point actually, why I shared this, which was something that made me in retrospect that I was struggling, but I was still struggling with self-worth. I wasn't struggling with money at that point. And that was because I had multiple revenue streams that I was consulting or I was designing, freelancing, whatever. Um, and that made me money, and that a lot of them did not need to be in person there. But had I been just dependent on one source of income, and God forbidden if there was something more like if this happens to anyone else, and if you are not able to show up in person, if you if because art is just, it's just not painting, it's also being present. It's being present in that moment, and when you're not, even if your hands and body are working, if your mind and soul is not working, you can't really do anything about it. So I was like, and I felt at that point, I was like, how important and how grateful I was to understand that it was not only a financial safety net, but I was able to take this amount of time. It's been over six in 8 months, 9 months, that I've been able to take this amount of time just to experiment with, and just to
Yeah.
be unhappy with who I am, just to be unhappy with my creativity, just to be to be utter unhappy.
Yeah.
And I'm okay with that, because I know that at some point, if I keep showing up, I will find what I'm looking for, and I need to keep showing up. But
Yes.
I can only afford this because I was not putting the financial pressure on it.
Yeah, absolutely. The financial, I mean, yeah, I've talked to other people about that too, and it's just it takes the pressure off, right? Like if you're going through a period when you're not feeling inspired or dealing with some hard life stuff and you have that financial foundation or other things that you can continue doing, that you don't need your whole mind, body and spirit like you do with creativity, I feel. um
Yeah,
you can survive and you can keep going. But if you put so much pressure on your creativity and your art practice, and then you have something devastating happen and you have no financial support system to fall back on, then
yeah,
you're screwed, right? But
yeah,
for
yeah.
some reason there's this shame with like, oh, I have a day job at the post office or
Yes,
something and I create artwork at night, like then I'm not a real artist, and that's bull.
yes. Oh
Am I
my
Am
God.
I allowed to
Yes,
swear? I forgot to ask.
yes, yes, yes.
That's
Please go
bullshit.
ahead.
No,
Absolutely.
I think you
I
really,
am with you.
yeah, you really have to figure out a way. I'm not saying you shouldn't make financial goals. I think, everybody should be millionaire artists. We should all,
100%.
live off our creativity. There's a need for it in the world, and people should buy what we create. But until that happens, no shame in doing whatever it is that you need to do to be able to support your creativity.
And creativity is not a linear path. I've had this question so many times, even to ourselves. I feel like I overthink. I am a big time overthinker. So I ask myself all kind of bullshit questions, and then I'm like, why am I doing this? Why am I selling this? And like, you need to unless you need to convince yourself first more than anyone else in the world. And one another thing, anyone who's listening, if they also if they've struggled with pricing, acceptance to pricing and all of those things, I think this one reason really helped me, which was creativity is not a linear flow. It's not like if I go to Excel and I can work on an Excel every day, and I'm not trying to demean anything, but it's not formulas, it's not something that's from point A to B, and you know that no matter what, you when you come and sit here, you open your laptop, this is what you're going to do, and creativity comes on its own and goes on its own. Some days you'll have brilliant ideas, and for months you may have nothing at all. So what you are getting is not for one day. You are getting for also for those days where you may not, may creativity may not be your friend that day, for that month. And you, like, it's not like you know when things are coming and going.
Mhm.
And you always need to keep account that this is such a, I feel like this process is such a intuitive process, and such like that you can't really put a tag on this.
Yeah.
It's so
Like,
priceless.
the thing is, the fluidity of creativity, though, the only thing I'll say about, like, the caveat to that is that you still have to show up. Like, that's
Yeah.
where I think perfectionism can really hold people back, because
Yes.
if you say you wake up and you're like, "Oh my god, I'm not feeling creative," and then you don't go to your studio, you don't create anything, you just give in to that, then creativity will not show up because you're not open to it. So I think if you go anyway, and even if you force yourself to do just a few minutes, that day you might create crap, and that's fine. You just keep that to yourself. But at least you were creative and you were open and you were receptive, right? So yeah, like, you have to let it flow. And if you aren't feeling it and you acknowledge that too much, like if you acknowledge, oh, I don't feel creative, so I'm not gonna even put myself in a creative space. And you never know, like, oftentimes I'll start painting, and it, like, honestly, squeezing out the paints, mixing the paints, I'm like, like, just going through the motions because I decided to show up and I'm not feeling it. You put a few brush strokes on, you're still not feeling it. And then literally, I have no idea what happens. It's like magical fairy pixie dust gets sprinkled on you when you weren't paying attention. And now you're like flying, right?
Like,
So
yeah.
if I hadn't
Yeah.
gone and started mixing the paint, I wouldn't have gotten to that next, like, vibing time and had that wonderful sprint to create.
That's true.
So yeah, I think it's, you have to listen to
I
yourself,
also think, like,
also push through.
absolutely, absolutely. And I think, I also, it's like a muscle that you need to keep training.
Yes, absolutely.
Like I was someone, I used to hate working out. Like I've done yoga for years. Like I could so relate to who you, like, you just said, because I was, we, like, so we, when I grew up here in India, we never had like this, we did not have a, like, a fitness culture, or like, when fitness is not like lifestyle, it's not a part of your lifestyle, it's very hard for you to pick up on it. And I struggled with like gaining weight and losing weight, and like at some point I was like, I don't want to keep doing this to myself and then feel low about it and all of those things. I'd rather make a change and um and add it to my lifestyle than a temporary phase. And I used to hate gym. I still hate gym, honestly. But I am someone but I am someone who I love showing up. Like I think one thing that I've learned in all these years is consistency. That no matter how hard it is in the first place, if I keep coming at it, I will get better and it'll get better. It's been a few years for me to, either being, I believe me, I used to sleep at 4 in the morning, and then I would wake up 12 in the next, like, on the next day. And then I was the most erratic person, like the typical creative, like, how we like, yes, 100%. I grew up that way. But at some point, I realized that where I wanted to be, I needed to be more disciplined, and I needed to be more informed, and like I needed to make some conscious changes in my life. And that's when I started making the practice of, waking up 5 in the morning, then sleeping on time, and then training my mind, because I had such a big block, because someone who's habitual to working night, if you ask that person to wake up in the morning and then work during the day, it's very hard. It's very hard. Like the because when your mind, but it's, again, I feel like creativity is another practice. I feel like I think I see everything as a practice in life now. Like waking up in the morning, showing up for your workout or your creativity. If you keep coming at it, like it just starts, like it starts feeling second nature to you. It At some point, an effort becomes natural, and your muscle gets that training, and you are no more making an attempt, it comes naturally to you.
Absolutely. Yeah, it just comes with
Okay,
time.
my next question to you. I have spoken more than you are. Now you need to speak. Okay. One more thing that I want to ask you is, you've done so much in the past. Like you just said, you started dabbling in 2018,
Yeah.
then 2019 and 20 and 21. Right? We're in 21. I'm
Yeah,
right?
21.
Yes. Can't believe it. How many things have you done so far? Do you want to list this for people?
Oh
Can
my.
you count your successes? That will be so good. I remember how powerful that was for our session. Do you
Uh,
have it with you?
I have in my handy dandy notebook. Yeah, I do.
Yes,
I don't know
go
if I
for it.
can find that page now, but hold on. Let me see. I'll go to my art section. That's where I keep track of all this stuff. So, I'm going to go through everything or just some things?
Yes, go, go, go.
Go, go,
I
go.
just want, I want people, because you've also opened up so much for me. I would have this, like, this self doubt, and this imposter that if you don't come from an art school, if you start late, and like all those things. You are such a good example. You started 2018, this is 21. You're more like, you have done so much.
Okay, I have some here. I didn't update. I added more when we spoke with the art queens. This is a little bit behind, but anyway, okay, here we go. So this is everything that I was able to accomplish in 2021. Okay, so I had my
Wow.
first solo show. I was featured in my first print magazine, which was Candy Floss. I completed a 10-month membership program, which was a monthly commitment and a group show at the end. I was approached to have a pop up show at a big shopping center. And FYI, they found me because they were following or they were on Instagram and looked up a hashtag for Nova Scotia artists. And that's how they found me. So that was pretty
Wow.
cool. Um, I started the podcast called Art Okay Cool. And you and I were both on Create Magazine's binge worthy podcast list. So congrats to
Yes.
you.
Same to you.
That's
Same to you.
amazing. So that was exciting. I created and taught some pop art workshops with 6 different high schools. I was approached to paint a mural, and then I designed it and completed that in July. I have been working on actually 2. I talked about one, but I actually have these 2 installation projects that I'm working on. I grew my Instagram from 12,000 followers to I think now I'm over 3,500. I gave my first art talk, and then I actually gave 3 for 3 different exhibits that I was a part of. I was included in a group show at Acadia University Gallery that's in my town here locally. I completed the artist navigation course. I've been an active member of the Art Queen Society. Um, I taught another weekly art class to like at risk girls. I would go in and spend an hour once a week with them. I hired an assistant to help me do some of the behind the scenes stuff, but it wasn't the right fit. So it only lasted 3 weeks. So I'll try again. I got a feature in my local newspaper. I started selling prints. I was featured on an art newsletter called Vander Love newsletter based out of Switzerland.
Wow.
And they found me on Instagram as well. I learned I learned how to build a crate and had to ship a painting to San Francisco through Saatchi Art. I did
Oh,
giveaways
wow.
on my Instagram to help grow my following. I was part of an online exhibit called Bubbled. I started a TikTok account to see if that could help me
Yeah.
grow, which it's work in progress. I was featured on the Jealous Curators newsletter called No Such Thing as Too Much Art. And then because of that, the artist Ashley Longshore saw my work, loved my work, and then bought 2
But
pieces.
yeah, wow.
Yeah. So that was pretty exciting. I applied for over 20 different open calls, grants, and random opportunities. I am currently a finalist in the Salt Springs National Art Prize, which is like one of the biggest art prizes in Canada. Um,
which I have a very positive feeling for. I told you,
Yay!
I said that the other day also.
We'll see. We'll see.
I'm
Then,
voted. I have voted. What do you want to plug in? Plug in right here.
oh yeah. So if you guys, so we can. When is this coming out though? The podcast, because voting ends October
When?
22nd, so it'll be over, right?
Oh, this is tomorrow.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, it's fine.
But
No
maybe
worries.
by this time you have already won it.
Yes,
By the
maybe.
time
So
we publish it,
there you go.
you
Go
will.
find me and see if I won. And if I didn't, don't feel bad for me. It's okay. It's part of it, right? We win, we lose. It's all good. I've sold 8 original paintings, which is great because it takes me like a month to 6 weeks approximately to even finish a painting. So I only painted like last year I did 8 paintings in 2020. In 2021 I wanted to do 10. I'm only at 8 right now, so I still have a few months to paint 2 more. So we'll see.
Months to go.
And then the last thing on this list was that I've spent, I didn't count how many hours, but many, many, many hours reading books, watching YouTube videos, listening to podcasts like Arts to Hearts and all the other great ones, and just learning and having a growth mindset. So, whatever I
Yeah.
don't know, I try to learn. So, there you go. I think
Oh
I
my.
missed
This
some.
is just 2021.
That's 2021. Yeah.
How?
I
How?
mean, so back to, you know what, when you were talking earlier about structure and this and that. So I like routine, but I also like, well, I don't even like right now because my husband's working overseas, and until, 2 months ago, my daughter was here with me. He's been gone about a year and a half. He comes to visit, but he's primarily over there. Um, I've had to be flexible. So, when I was talking about my planner, one of the things, like at the back, it's a section called to do. And so I actually like flip through my book every single day and pick, like when things come to mind, I write it down. And then
That's
when
nice.
I am preparing for the day, I pick 1 or 2 things that I'm going to do that day. So it sounds like a lot when you read it in a list, but there's 365 days. And so even if you do 1 or 2 things each day, you actually accomplish a lot. And what I love about having it written down in my little planner is that I can see what I accomplished. Because before I would write a to-do list on my notes on my phone, and then if I would complete it, I would delete it. Or I would write it on a piece of paper and then I would lose that piece of paper. But now I can look back and see, like, oh, you did that, you did that. And so, this is art stuff, but it's also personal stuff. So, helping the kids with this or taking them to soccer games or dance class or whatever, like, you actually see how much you do because, you know, related to our other conversation too, sometimes I think of myself as like not getting a lot done, or you don't remember everything that you do, and then you feel
Yeah,
bad like, oh, I wasn't really productive. But when it's all like written down,
absolutely.
and every time you accomplish one of your goals or your tasks, you add it to your list, you realize that you're doing a lot, and you should feel at least proud of that,
Yeah,
you know
yeah, absolutely. You know, I think you've mentioned this somewhere, and this is my question. Do you, and I also want, well, I actually wanted to ask you this other time, but then I thought I'll save it for this one. Selfish, being selfish. Do you think, uh, do you think a lot of that you've done and where you are, your energy has a lot to do with your experience and age?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I just know, like, I've always been a goal oriented person, and I've always, done stuff, but I think the older I get, the more willing I am to try. Like, I think I was definitely holding back as a younger person, um, looking stupid, failing. I really had this big fear of failure. And newsflash, you're going to fail. And I failed a lot at a lot of things that I wanted, and they didn't work out or it didn't go as planned. And I'm still here and I survived. And so I think for sure for me, age and experience. I think experience
Yes.
also helps you
Yes.
move forward and continue to try.
Um, you know, you are really really good at goal setting. And like, I'm not actually talking about goal setting as goal setting. Like, it's not that you have this, like, I can see it in you that what you're doing comes from very real life practicality of experience learning. Like, when you do a business, and especially because I think maybe I've seen this in my own house, in my own, I come from a business class family. I've seen my father, everyone in our family who has done business. I have been a business owner for these years. And I think I have seen that in you, like your agility, your it's not always the hard work, but it's also the smart work. And what I really like about you is that how you focus on that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's often the little things that accumulate and make
Yeah.
this difference, which we discount. Like we have the big goal, that's great. You can have the big nugget up here, but there's like could be 100 steps between here and here, and so you just have to be willing to do like the grunt the grunt work to keep working yourself up because
And going up.
yeah, and not feeling bad that it's like I think instant gratification is also something that is more of a youthful thing that I think,
Yeah.
as you get older, you realize that really the best things in life actually took time. Like the like the going out for drinks, oh, it's fun or whatever, but what does it get you in the long run? Hey,
Yeah.
I'm not knocking that. I was a party girl in my 20s. It was a lot of fun. But I'm just saying, like, if you have big dreams or big goals, you got to know that even most, like, okay, I love Lizzo. I don't know. Do you like Lizzo, the singer? Do you know who that is?
What is that?
Lizzo?
No.
Ella? No, okay. So she's
I'm
American.
not into music.
No, okay. So she's an American pop star. She's having huge success right now.
Okay.
But I
Okay.
follow her and I follow her story and I find people like her inspiring because people are like, wow, overnight success. And she's like, what are you talking about?
Yes.
I've
No.
been like doing the grunt work for over 10 years. I would go to shows and nobody would be in the audience, but I would perform anyway. You know what I mean? Like, I
Oh
love
wow.
people, and not just celebrities, but I mean, all kinds of
Yes.
people with stories
Yes.
very similar to that. Like you just keep going if it's really
Keep
what you
showing.
want. And if it's not, then you need to switch course and keep figuring it out. Like there's no straight
Yes.
line.
Yes. Yes. That is so true. Like, yeah, I think um this is what, because especially as a creative, I've also understood this fact and come to acceptance, because again, the biggest thing is accepting that I may evolve. I think this is something I struggled personally a lot with, that what I'm doing today may not be something I want to do tomorrow, and I will evolve into something. I don't have to stop. I don't have to doubt myself. I just need to accept that and grow with that evolution and keep showing up, keep taking one step at a time.
And you don't need to apologize. Like the fact that you like painting, but you also like collage, and maybe tomorrow it's going to be something else. Like it doesn't matter. We're allowed to follow our curiosities. Like we pigeonhole ourselves to think, oh, people know me as X, and so I have to, continue to show up in that way. And we don't. Like we're allowed to constantly be evolving. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's it. I think you just have to follow the twists and turns of life. Hello. And age helps with
Thank you,
understanding that there
frozen.
will be more twists and turns, right?
Yeah, and I think I also mentioned this in our Queen session. What I really, really admire about you is your energy. Um, what I really feel like, something I read, we all know about, is that nobody feels confident all the times. You fake it till you make it. But the way you fake it is so like it. I can see that conviction in you, because we're all faking it. Like, I mean, I'll be honest. We're all scared.
Maybe
Um
I should
we
go into
all have
acting.
imposter.
Maybe I should go. I'm such a good faker. I should go into
I
acting,
mean,
right?
you are very pretty. You
Oh,
are so fashionable. You
no,
paint so good.
I'm just kidding.
Maybe this is something you could explore.
No, I'm pretty. You know what though? The thing is, this it's like sometimes I'll show up when I'm not at my best, and I purposely try to
Yes.
do that sometimes because you're right. It's like we are all faking it, and I don't know. I mean, it's part of it's
Still, we are making it. I feel like what you must feel today, you're more confident because like to your own self.
yeah,
You've come from where you began, so of course your confidence level will be different. But when you may have started, you may have had several doubts, and as your ambition is also going to go bigger,
yeah.
you'll start doing more new things. You will feel scared of them, but you'll still do it because we unless we really do that, we don't get the confidence.
And I
What I
oh,
wanted to
sorry, go
ask
ahead, go
is,
ahead, go ahead.
sorry, what I wanted to ask is how do you do this no fuck given attitude?
Oh
How?
yeah, so we talked about that. I mean,
Yes.
I think we've already touched on it. I think it just comes honestly with time. Like, when you're a teenager and everybody's opinion around you matters so much, the more you learn who you are, what you like, what you don't like, and you realize you don't have to apologize for it, you don't give a fuck what your neighbor thinks, or if they don't like your outfit, or like even right now I'm still something.
I love your outfit.
So thanks. Something I'm working on. So when I moved from a city to this small town in my 20s. And so,
Really?
yeah, so at that time, I was very back to the fashion. I was like very into fashion, and I was like making my own clothes because I didn't want anybody to have what I had. And so
Oh
I come to
wow.
this little town, and it's not just a little town, but it's like gravel roads, and I would be like high heels trying to walk on gravel. Like it didn't mesh, and I could keep myself very pristine because it was just me. And then you have kids, and they're like, that's when I started wearing a
Then
ponytail all the time because they would grab my hair or smear my makeup, you know what I mean? Pull on my earrings. And so
yeah.
my style went from, what I thought was really lovely to like bottom of the barrel. I didn't care if I was, the kids I had to get to a place where I didn't care about if I got messy, I just had to be comfortable and able to walk on gravel roads with kids kind of thing. So my fashion
Yeah.
changed. But now that I have teenagers, I mean, I still can't wear
You're
high
back to
heels.
yourself.
Well, probably because I haven't worn them in forever that they would kill my feet, but also because of the rough, I mean, we have paved roads too. Don't get me wrong. Like it's not a little, it's a town, but anyway. Um,
Yeah, I live in pretty similar
Oh, okay.
situation.
But I'm trying to like wear bright colors again because I really love them. And my kids aren't going to smear peanut butter on me anymore, right? So I can wear nice clothes again, and I can put on
Yeah.
jewelry because I'm not changing diapers and having to wash my hands 1,000 times. Like I think that's my lifestyle has changed, but I feel kind of nervous. Like this is a really bright yellow, and mostly everybody around here wears beige. Like it's a bit of an older community. And so if I walk down the street in
Yeah.
this bright hot pink or bright yellow and like bedazzled earrings, I'm sticking out like a sore thumb, and I'm trying to like feel comfortable again with the no fucks. Like why the fuck would I care what
Yeah.
they think about my outfit? I'm not wearing it for them. I'm wearing it because it makes me feel good. So I'm still learning.
Yeah.
Like even at this point, I'm still trying to embrace and fully be myself and show up the way I want
Yeah.
to, not worrying that the 70-year-old across the street thinks I'm a lunatic for wearing whatever crazy outfit I'm wearing. Do you know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah.
it's still a work in progress. And then in terms
Oh
of
my
like
god.
faking it till you make it, sometimes though, when you're just having an off day, I just will have that and I won't show up. I
Yeah.
just keep it. Sometimes you need
Yeah.
that privacy too, right? Like it's
Yeah.
okay.
I
It's
agree.
okay to have a day when you just want to bawl your eyes out and lay on the couch or whatever. And you don't need to share that with everybody. And you're not being inauthentic if you're not sharing that. Like some people want to share everything, like all their lows and their highs, and that's cool too. You just do what's right for you.
Yeah. Yeah, we need to find our own boundaries, what feels
Absolutely.
healthy for us
Yeah.
and what doesn't. Like, I, for one, I mean, I don't like to share everything. I like to stick
Yeah.
to my work and like things here and there because I feel like I am someone who likes to enjoy and be in that moment.
Yeah.
But I also feel like I want to show more of it. I haven't found the answer to that yet.
Mhm.
But again, you need to figure, and also there's never a linear line. Sometimes I would show up more,
Mhm.
sometimes I wouldn't because I don't feel like it, I'm not doing it. As simple as that.
As simple as that.
Okay, Celine,
Yes.
I can't believe we've been talking for so long, and it's just been so, so wonderful. I could go on for hours, but I know that I would have to do this for you for another time again.
Okay.
And maybe you've done this in another year. In this one year, I'm still thinking what's going to happen. Then how is 2022 going to look like? How is that looking for you now?
Yeah.
What's happening?
Oh my gosh. Well, so I haven't set like my 2020 yet. I'm starting to sort of think about the future. Um, I don't know. Like, I'm just trying to wrap up this year. I applied for that residency that I said I was going to when we were talking on our Queens.
And you made me apply to.
Did you?
I,
Yay!
yes,
I'm
I
so proud
hadn't,
of
believe
you.
me, I hadn't applied. I haven't applied to one single thing entire year because I hadn't made work. I wasn't in that mental space. I haven't applied at all. And then when we spoke, before that, me, Victoria, and Mona had a chat. And I was like, I'm not been able to do anything because I haven't been able to apply and all of that. And they were like, you just go for it, go for it. So you gave me that final nudge, and I went and checked them out. And I was like, you know what? Celine is right. Maybe they'll just have a look at my work. Why not? And then I did.
I'm so proud of yeah, you just made my day. That's awesome. I'm so glad you did that. So I
Thank
got into it was
you.
a lot though. Didn't you find it was like a lot? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It was a
Which
lot.
is fair. I mean, that's fine. But anyway, so
Yeah.
we'll see. That's out in the universe. But I guess the main thing
Yes.
that is new that I'm excited about is I think you're aware of this, but I'm going to do like a little artist pep talk group.
Yes.
And I filled the group.
I'm please oh my goodness. I had to ask you about that.
I filled it.
Oh my, I need that
I'm
nudge.
only taking 6 for the first time. But and then I had some other people reach out. So now I'm like, well, maybe I'll do that's like a Thursday group. I'm thinking, well, maybe I'll do like
Yeah.
a Monday group. So I don't know. I'm
Yes.
thinking about
Tell me more.
okay. Well, it's just basically like we're gonna do it's like an accountability like so I called it the pep rally because like well, maybe that's an American thing too, but like you go to the pep
Yeah,
rally,
that
right?
is.
Before the football game, you get like hyped up, you get ready to
Yeah.
play your best game. And that's the kind of vibe I just
Yeah.
wanted to create in like a small knit group so that we can have
Yes.
time to actually speak out loud into the world like what we want to do, what we're going to accomplish that week, and then we're going to meet every week for 4 weeks and actually like back to my list like check stuff off the list like what did you get done and have that accountability. So I'm really excited about it. So yeah, we're going to do that.
Please share more details with me. Let me know. I will also add it to the show notes.
Okay.
So
I will.
if the Monday group,
So it'll be
before that fills out, we need to put this
yeah,
out.
so it'll be 4 Mondays at 7 o'clock and Eastern Standard Time. So wherever you are,
Okay.
Eastern Standard Time, do the, on your phone,
Do the math.
the calculator to
Timebuddy.com.
exactly. So yeah, it'll be an hour, 4 times a week, and then we're gonna have like an Instagram group chat for during the day to like keep in touch and pep each other up and be like each other's squad,
Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. You're such a good cheerleader anyways. I can't imagine how good this would be. Have you thought about doing like this, like, these workshops that happen, which are like future, like goal planning, goal setting, like things like that in the beginning of the year, like
Yeah,
year
yeah, yeah,
end or
yeah.
something? That would be so fun.
Yeah, hey, there you go. Maybe you've given me an idea. Like that could be fun, like a goal
Yes.
setting workshop in
I'm your first,
January or
I'm your
something.
first,
Yeah.
I'm your first spot
Okay.
to be filled in.
That would be fun to do in a
We're
group
doing
too,
that.
right? Because sometimes, like actually you just gave me that idea. Like sometimes people around us can see things that we would be good at that we don't see for ourselves. So it's
Yes.
so helpful to
Yes.
like chat in a group setting. So yeah.
And I think you have had like such several tricks up your sleeve, and you've also tried them, executed them, and you know what's working, what's not working. And a lot of times, um, just sharing that information, and what works. Sometimes I need a new, fresh approach for my own self.
Yeah.
And I mean, please do it. I'm fine.
Okay, well, I'll keep you posted on that one. I'll have to think that through a little bit more, but yeah, so actually that would be
Yeah,
amazing because that's what I want to do for sure is set more goals for 2020 and see how many I can knock out. Yeah.
amazing. I am. I can't wait to have you back again in a couple of months because I know that's all it's going to take.
It would be my pleasure. You're so much fun to talk to. So,
Yes.
anytime.
Same. We still have one very important segment left, which is the rapid fire. I can't let you go before that.
Okay, go for it.
It, are you
I'm
ready?
ready.
So there's no right, no wrong. You just have to give me what comes to your mind first. Okay?
Yep.
One, two, three. One thing you want to convey through your work in the arts.
One thing I want to convey through my art. Wait, convey through my art, right?
Through your work in the arts, that includes everything that you do.
Oh, okay. I want to convey positivity and joy.
What's that one word that describes you the best?
Oh, I've always used the word colorful, but for some people, they think that's negative. So I don't know. But I think I'm colorful, like just,
You are. You're beautiful, colorful.
yeah,
If you could have a studio anywhere in the world, where would it be?
somewhere hot.
You really need to come to India, and India is hot and it's colorful and it'll give you so much
I think it,
inspiration.
like, honestly, I really believe that. No, I definitely have to come. I don't
Yeah.
love the cold. I tend to feel sad with dark, cold days. So,
We'll do a studio swap.
yes, wouldn't that be incredible?
I'll give you my amazing.
Yes. Okay.
I have a fantastic studio. Let's do this soon. And you'll love because it's going to be hot here, and I'll love because it's going to be cold
I can't
there.
come when it's like
And it'll
the
be the
hottest
perfect.
hot though. I have to come when it's like you said like today is like 26. That is perfect.
Yes. You can come in March,
Okay.
Feb. So from March, Feb. Like what's really hot is June, July.
Okay.
That's
But
hot
then if we
right
swapped
now.
in March and February, you'd have to be here at the coldest time. That's the worst.
I love that. That's the worst. I love the
So
worst.
perfect.
I
That
love
that
the
works
worst.
perfectly
I want
then.
to freeze in the
Perfect.
cold.
Oh my god, hilarious. I love it.
Love it. Then we're
Oh,
doing this. Done.
done.
Deal. Your biggest source of inspiration.
People. People are my biggest source of
Oh,
inspiration. Yeah.
okay. Who's your favorite woman artist?
Oh, that's such a mean question. How am I gonna answer that? Okay, I have lots. You know what?
Anyone.
I have
Okay.
lots of living um artists that
Yes,
I
but
really admire. But I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings or leave anybody out. So I'm gonna do one that is no longer with us that was an inspiration. Her work was a real inspiration when I was a kid. And then now as an adult, like digging into her life, she just was a trailblazer. So that's Tamara de Lempinka. She was very popular in the 20s and she painted
okay.
portraits in a very
Okay.
stylized and stylish, bold way. So Google her, Tamara de Lempinka.
Yes, I
Yeah.
will.
If anybody, well,
And I will
you might
add
know
her.
her, but if
Yes, and I
anybody,
will add her to the show notes as
perfect.
well.
Yeah. So that would be definitely.
Okay. Who's your go to person when you're in trouble or in need of advice?
It's a toss up between my mom and my husband. My mom is like my ride or die. She's got my back, all my crazy ideas. She
Oh
loves
my
it.
God.
And then my husband obviously is the same. So, I've got two, and I'm very lucky to have both. And then you know what? As my kids are getting older,
Yeah.
they're so interested in like everything I'm doing. So they're getting
Wow.
involved, and I'm able to tell them my crazy ideas too because they're old enough that they like to
Wow.
envision it and
Yeah, they
yeah.
get it.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so I've got a really nice support system. I'm very lucky.
That is so nice to hear. Oh my God. Okay. This could be a little more than one
Okay.
word. Can you share, can you share one moment? I'm sure there must have been many. Uh, that really you keep close to your heart, that makes you feel very special for being an artist. Like one incident, something that made you feel very special, memorable. you can't forget it? Something.
Um, I mean, honestly, I'm lucky to have quite a few, but I think the one that really
Yes.
stands out is a painting I did in 2019, so fairly close to when I started. It's a vintage yellow with tons of ruffles, and I just
Okay. Oh, I
yeah.
remember that
So I
one.
just saw it in the vintage
Yeah.
store and just thought, "Wow, that's a beautiful dress." But then when I connected with the owner because I wanted to borrow it to photograph it for a painting, she told me the story behind the dress, and it's one of her family and having overcome a lot of really well, like our conversation earlier, like twists and turns and really
Yeah.
big challenges. And the dress was bought for her great aunt because she was the first in their family to graduate high school, and this is the dress that she was going to wear. And so that story touched me. And then just the woman's reaction, how incredibly honored she felt that I was interested in the dress and the story. It just was really, that was
Yeah.
really touching. That was pretty special. I mean, I find people have such a strong reaction to my work and tell me all kinds of beautiful things. And so I feel touched a lot, but just knowing the history of that specific dress and then what it meant to the family and then to have that forever in a painting, I think is just really special.
That truly, truly
Yeah.
is. Absolutely. Okay. If you were to meet younger Celine today, what advice would you give her?
I would tell her just keep being your little weirdo self. Like keep going. It's okay because, again, we were talking about that self doubt, and I didn't fit in at all. I mean, I had friends and everything. Don't get me wrong. I was okay. But in particular, like in elementary school, before I was 10,
Yeah.
the cool girls were like the long, I've always had hair that was kind of around here. They would have the long hair, the long ponytail. They would be
Yeah.
athletic and top in all the sports, and they would get straight A's. And I was like, I was none of those things. I had weird haircuts and
Yeah.
funky clothes, and I was like a C student. So, except in art,
With you on
I would get
that.
A's in art,
Same
and
here.
everything
Oh my
else was a
goodness.
struggle. Anyway, but
Oh my
I had
God.
yeah, I had a
100%.
lot of I wanted to fit in, but I wanted to be myself, and so I really struggled with that. And so
Yeah.
looking back, I would just say, don't worry about fitting in. Just keep being yourself because you're allowed to do that. So yeah.
My God. That is such a lovely advice. When you're saying that your art, my entire report card would be filled with C C C C C C C, and just right at the bottom, that's where the art thing is, because they would always put art on the
Yep.
bottom. Yeah, A
Yep.
plus plus plus. And I was like, I would show my mom, I got this. And then she would look from, so I would ask her to look from here, from bottom to up, and not from up to down. Because,
Exactly.
and apparently, like, how kids would be so curious and interested in taking
Yeah.
their parents. So this is how it happens here. I don't know how it happens there. Like, we'll have this parents teacher meet, and
Yes.
then, you know, they are meant to go to meet their teachers. So you could take them to your favorite teachers or teachers who have requested them. And I would try not, my parents do not meet any of my teachers, because I know then what will happen. And I would take them to my art teacher, which they were never interested in, because that's what I knew.
Yeah. That's where your love was, right? I can totally relate. That's the
Yes.
same. Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, Celine, one last thing, which is, where can people find you, support you? Do you want to share anything that's coming up? Like, you've already
Hmm.
done that, but please feel free to take the space and let our listeners know where they can find you, follow you, support you.
Absolutely. Okay. So my website is CelineGabrielleArt.com. All of my social medias, Celine Gabrielle Art. Um, what else? Oh, so my podcast is called Art Okay Cool. And yeah, it's a little bit different in that Jade is a friend of mine who's also an emerging artist. And she and I really sort of talk about and pick apart like what we're doing while we're doing it and sharing like the behind
Yeah.
the scenes. So if you're interested in that, if that piques your curiosity.
I'm a regular listener. So, guys,
Yeah.
if you uh, that I can vouch for it. So don't forget to check it out for sure.
Thank you.
And Celine has really covered a lot of things on the podcast, which has happened in her own professional life. And she's really talked us through, shared so many things behind. Super fine, which was so, so helpful because I had a lot of
Okay.
questions. I've been thinking of doing art fair for so long, and I've just been thinking about coming from India, the entire
Yeah.
cost, and like all of those things. And I feel like it was so, so, so helpful for me.
Good. I'm so glad. That's why we do it. And then, yeah, so I think I'm going to do another group for the artist pep talk. And I'll give you information that you can share with your listeners. And
Yes, please
I'm sure
do.
I'll talk about it on my stuff too. So if you follow me over there, it'll all come together. And my email is CelineGabrielleArt@gmail. So if you just have questions, reach out to me and I will answer everything that you want to
Yes.
know. I think that's everything. Did I cover everything?
Yes, I think so. I think so.
Good.
If not, you can always come back
Exactly.
and talk about it.
Perfect.
Yes.
Cool.
Oh my God. Thank you so. Okay, cool.
Okay, cool.
I love how you guys say that.
Okay,
Okay,
cool.
cool.
That's why,
You know?
you know what? So
Yeah.
I'll tell you a funny story. When we decided we were going to do it, or I decided, and I was thinking of a
Yeah.
name, all the names I had like brainstormed were taken for other
Yes.
things. And so
Yes.
Jade said to me, that's my co-host. She's like, well, what do you say all the time? And I'm like, well, I don't know. And then I had to think and I thought, well, I always say that, somebody will say, do you want to go for coffee? I'll be like, yeah, okay, cool. So I just
You do
art.
that.
Okay, cool. There you
Okay,
go.
cool.
There's our title. So anyway, it's kind of a silly title, but whatever, it
Oh my
works.
God. It works. It's fun. It's you.
Thank you.
You're it's very fun, guys. You definitely should check the podcast out. It's really helpful. Celine and Jake both are very, very kind and lovely, and they share so much that I'm sure will be so helpful for all of you.
Awesome.
So again, Celine, thank you so much for your time. I know it's been way beyond than we expected, but I knew this was going to happen. So
Okay.
thank you so
Thank you
much.
for having me. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, same here. I really am hoping. I know you'll be back here much, much faster than we all can expect.
Yes.
And we'll have so many new things to ask you and share.
Great. We'll talk soon.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. You can find all the details and links mentioned in the show notes of this episode available on www.arts2heartsproject.com. And if you like this episode, please don't forget to tag us in your stories and leave us a review here on iTunes or any of your favorite platforms. It really helps us to keep the show going. Thank you so much. I'm sending you lots of love and I can't wait to be back here soon again. Bye.